Welcome to Beyond My Crisis. I'm your co-host, Ron Rossnick.
And I'm Vivian Gaspar. Do you want to find your perfect mate? Hopefully, this will be the last time. But if not, perhaps you're divorced once, unfortunately, maybe twice, but you know you still want to get it right. We have two amazing guests here with us today. Mary McNutt is a doctorate student of brain science, a CPA, MBA, and an expert in attracting love, health, and money. She is the author of Sexy Love, Shine Your Beauty from the Inside Out, the easy guide to attracting your perfect mate. It's you.
Jim Cullum is the author of the book, Let Me Show You How I Love You. Jim brings the wisdom of having interviewed over 700 women, as well as being happily married over 43 years.
Welcome, both of you. It is a pleasure to have you here because, well, no one wants to be alone. I think pretty much there's a consensus on that. Mary, let's start with you. Your book, The Easy Guide to Attracting Your Perfect Mate, what do you think men want in women, or better yet, what does a woman want when she's starting to get ready to date to hopefully find that perfect mate?
What a woman wants in a man, based on my opinion only, is a person with confidence, a person that has integrity, a person that is attractive and fun.
And Jim, what's your perspective? You've talked to over 700 women. What did they say?
Women are looking for a strong man, a man who respects them, and a man who listens to them.
Okay. What about the caretaker? What about income earners?
In the world today, it's a lot different. 40, 50 years ago, a lot of the women were full-time housewives at home. They raised the kids, they mowed the lawn, they did things like that. Today, most women are out in the world working as well. They have a full-time job, careers, advanced degrees, and they deserve just as much relaxation with their honey as their honey does with them.
Mary, your book is The Easy Guide to Attracting Your Perfect Mate. What do you think men really want in women versus what women think they want?
Men appreciate a confident woman, and women think men are only attracted to what's on the exterior. I've found through my research that men are very much attracted to brains and beauty.
So I think I've met a lot of women when they're getting ready to date, they want to lose weight, they think they need to get a whole new set of makeup or change their hair. And you're saying it's not all about that, right?
On a survey through the Happiness Institute, they found that looking at photos of people who have lots of makeup and they're trying to make their exterior look good as opposed to the happiness inside, the happy person was found more attractive in the survey every time over the mascara.
So we have to stay happy. That's the key.
Happiness is more beautiful than mascara.
Jim, you have interviewed over 700 women. That is an amazing feat. I think you said it took you 4 years to do that. Correct. What did those women tell you?
Women want a man to appreciate them, to give them space, to love them, and to respect them.
And to be a good listener, I hear.
Well, women want the men to be a good listener.
Yes.
Men sometimes don't listen to understand, they listen to respond.
Because we're problem solvers by nature. So we have to pull back the problem solving and go into a listening mode.
Yes. Find out what's really going on.
Mary, is that true?
Yes, oftentimes women just need a sounding board and the men are listening, ready to fix. Their biological habit is to have a solution to the problem.
So how do we fix that? What's the solution now?
To be focused while your partner is speaking.
And how long could that take for a man to listen to another woman? Is it going to be
longer than the man wants?
Right. So
every time.
Men have to just simply be patient, wait till their female finishes speaking, and then just pause space, like hold space for them.
And a clue might be, is the woman asking questions? Like, what do you think I should do? Because if they're not asking questions, they would most likely want to just be fed back the fact that you're listening.
Okay, so feeding back what we're listening then is what? What does that look like, Jim?
It shows that you're paying attention.
So what do I say? What would I, when she says my day was challenging and I did this and this and this, then
Well, then you ask questions. How was your day challenging? What went on while I wasn't here? What went on while you were at the office? And get her to explain it. Once you talk about things and you start to bring them out, it helps smooth them over.
wow.
Well, let's go taking a step back or two to the dating process and getting prepared for that. Because if you don't yet have a partner of any kind, Mary, one of the things I thought was interesting about your book title is that you could be your own perfect mate. What do you mean by that?
I have a worksheet in my book that has people writing what you find in your perfect mate. For example, a woman would write, if she's interested in a man, she would write what her perfect man would look like. And then I have them look at whether or not they're a match to that lineup. For example, if I wrote my perfect man would be well educated, I might ask myself, am I suitable for that kind of person? Maybe a well-educated man would have no interest in a woman who isn't well-educated because it would be hard for them to maintain conversations. So looking at, am I a match to that which I consider a perfect mate? And if not, then start developing skills to become the kind of mate you would look for. And by the time you're done developing those skills,
You're ready to.
the mate is a bonus, not a need.
It's not a necessity, but you know, we're here to talk about successful relationships, how to find them, get into them. And we talked for a second on the one direction. So how do we flip that around a little bit? Instead of what is it just that men really want from women, what is it when you think women really want from the men?
Integrity. We want love and approval.
And what does that mean? What love and approval means? What?
So-
Once a week, once a day, saying I love you, or what do we do?
Acts of kindness, words of affirmation, so a compliment that reassures me that something I'm doing is pleasing to my partner, gifts, different ways of showing that you appreciate a person. Maybe it's taking time to be with them when you're all otherwise always busy. Just taking time to put them into your schedule is a sign of appreciation.
So you're saying it's not the same for everybody. I heard someplace something about love languages or ways that people will express, forget love, how about interest if you're not at the point of love? But if it's different for everyone, a woman might not feel like the man cares if he's not expressing it the way she wants to feel it. So,
Right, like my love language might be touch, so I might need to be hugged and kissed and tactile, where Jim, your book talks about showing how to love.
Exactly. One of the examples that I give in the book, one of the nicest things I did for my wife way back when our kids were little, I said, you know what? I lit some candles around the bathroom. I put the bubble bath in the tub for her. I said, put some soft music on. I'll take the kids to the park for an hour. You get to soak and relax and just have some quiet quality time. And she was so taken with that. She loved it. She had her own time to relax, to soak. Nobody's going to be running in and out of the bathroom.
so by giving her a little feeling of gratitude that you're taking the kids off her hands, it made her
Exactly.
feel a little special.
Exactly.
And you communicated that rather than just taking the kids and letting her be on her own. And the lady said, well, I took the kids from you, so you have time. Then it's not the same. It doesn't land the same way.
Right, exactly. How I set the whole thing up, it was all planned. I planned it the day before, and it worked beautifully. It flowed so well, and the kids like to go to the park, and she likes to soak in the tub, but she hadn't done that in a while because, you know, when you have kids at home, it gets busy.
So being aware of the needs of each other seems to be a common thread.
Yes.
I have an example. Gary Smalley coined the 5 love languages, and it's something that is true with all of us. So that's a lovely book to look at, but we all talk about different ways of meeting love languages. It might be that my love language might be physical gifts. So you can buy me a diamond ring and it will tickle me for however long it tickles me, versus maybe there are other love languages. There's the acts of kindness, like setting up the bubble bath situation. There's the touch, there's the gifts, there's quality dates.
Well, how about remembering? I think it's really special if he remembers something you would never imagine or think, because it's something maybe insignificant, but it matters because he remembered a memory or something that she did or wore. I think that's really nice to say that you're memorable.
That's also paying attention too.
If that's in the book, I think, right?
Yeah, I quote the example in the book about that. My wife was watching the news on television, and I walked by the room, and I was doing my own thing. She was doing her own thing. We weren't paying attention to each other. But a commercial came on, and I heard her make a remark very low, not to me. She just made this very soft remark. I'd love to do that someday. And I peeked in, and I looked around, and I saw the TV, and there were these hot air balloons on the television screen. And at the time, we were married 30 years.
Wow, it's still fresh.
I had no idea that she would ever want to do that, but now I did. So it goes into my mental notebook. And that summer for her birthday, now this is the only time you're allowed to lie in a relationship, okay? Honesty is important, communication is very important, but I told her we were going upstate for a nice bed and breakfast weekend to relax, and she was happy with that. I had prearranged a hot air balloon trip. And that night, the night before the trip, I said, we have to go to bed kind of early tonight because we need to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And she said, why are we getting up at 4 o'clock? I said, well, we have to go to the airport. There's a balloon going to be waiting for us to take us on this wonderful adventure. And she looked at me and goes, how did you know? She would see, I love surprises. I like to do things that surprise. She loves surprises too, and so it works. I know what she likes, I give it to her.
So remembering is also a challenge. For me, remembering dates and events is challenging. I use my calendar on my phone.
Well, if I can jump in for a second, in the back of the book, I have a whole section where you can put down all the information you need to know: her birthday, the anniversary date, her favorite color, her favorite food, her favorite restaurant, her favorite music. You can fill in all the blanks on 3 pages, so when the event occurs, you're prepared.
Mary, in your book, I really love how you're talking about, before you just mentioned about making yourself someone would want to be with. Expand on that, please, because I think it's really important that people don't give that enough thought before they get out there dating. They just think about what they want versus thinking, are they someone that someone else would want?
So in looking at, am I the kind of person that my dream mate would be attracted to? We gave the example of the education, if it's important for that. So maybe you're really interested in being a risk taker. My husband and I were both risk takers in our dating, and I was dating other people at the moment, and the ones that weren't risk takers did not make the second date.
So you have criteria that you're evaluating, but you don't tell them what you're looking for. You want to see it if it naturally comes out.
So if I wrote on my perfect partner list that they're a risk taker, yet I'm not a risk taker, it doesn't seem like I'd be a great match for a risk taker, for example. Opposites attract, but opposites also repel. So if we're both risk takers and we go skiing together, like my husband and I did on a lot of our dates, we had a great time because we both equally were risk takers, as opposed to opposite can repel. So if one's a risk taker and one's fairly timid, that's going to repel the opposite. For example, where opposites attract, I'm really great at taking care of money, paying the bills, writing the checks, all of that. My husband does not want anything to do with that department. He's great at lawn maintenance, at mechanics, at so many things. I can't even think of it right now, but his opposite skills that he's great at that I don't want anything to do with, but indeed it's important in my life, that he can fill in that blank. I can fill in taking care of the checkbook balance, and the opposites attract in that.
Well, now you're getting to something I'm really curious about. You said you've been with your husband over 20 years, I think?
Yes.
And Jim, we all talked about you've been married over 40 years. So there's 2 very long-standing relationships. We're here on the subject. How did you guys do it? How are you married so long? Can you both share some tips? Jim, if you want to start off?
Sure. You make every day interesting and exciting. When you
Every day? Is that realistic?
Every day, yes.
How is that realistic when everything's going on day by day?
You make the time to do it. And when you make a priority and you keep it a priority, you'll always have time to do everything else. And the priority is done first. So like the little things where I would write a note. She's a teacher. My wife's a teacher. And I would write a note and I put it into her lesson plan for her 4th period class. I love you, I miss you, can't wait to see you later. Sometimes I'll attach a $20 bill to it and I'll say, have lunch on me today. Now she doesn't see that until she gets into her 4th period class and she opens the book and it's like, whoa, look at that. And she's so, I know she's smiling from ear to ear. Some of the other teachers have told me, wow, you really made your wife smile today, you know? So I know I'm doing the right thing. You make it a priority and every day you can do something small which might be seemingly insignificant to someone else.
But your book has all the suggestions. We don't have to make it up all the time. You know, being creative for some people is a challenge. So,
which is why I wrote the book, exactly. Some tips, ideas.
So Mary, you had mentioned to me earlier that you have a marriage, I think you said contract or
mission statement.
Mission statement. That's something I've never even thought of. What do you mean by that?
For my husband and I, our mission statement includes being happy over being right. We both tend to be very opinionated people, so arguing comes up easily in our relationship. And for the first few years of our relationship, it brought us to conclusions of possibly not being a good match. Yet we were able to look at all the other qualities and know that we want the whole package, including the argumentative tendencies.
Really?
So we made a mission statement that says love above all else, and we would never go to bed upset with each other. We'll stay up all night long if we have to until we have hugs and kisses and remedies for whatever it was that brought chaos.
that's not an easy task. I mean, there must be some training or some way to be. I mean, we have to have more tolerance for each other then.
Sure.
Right? That's
So
essential.
I keep that as my North Star. I might be right in the middle of a debate with my husband, and then I remember my written mission statement. And when I'm digging my heels in to be right, and then that mission statement that I referenced many, many times, it will come into my head and remind me I don't want to be right while making my love wrong, because that's a lose-lose. Me being right while I made my lover wrong is not a good
So
solution.
awareness of how you're being and who you're being when you're communicating is really essential.
Right.
How do we become self-aware?
Well, it's picking your battles, actually. You know, you realize, as you just said, that sometimes it's better to not be right and have the relationship have a nice ending for the day there than, you know, I have to be right and go to bed with tension and anxiety. That's not a good thing to do.
So being right is the wrong way to be.
Well, sometimes it's necessary to be. I mean, you're talking about certain situations. You're balancing a checkbook. There's numbers come
Well,
out
you're
only
choosing
one way. You're right or you're
Vanilla
not.
or pistachio ice cream. I mean, that's not a place to have to be right. Like,
Exactly.
we're buying that half gallon and nothing else, you know.
Right.
Buy both.
Now,
When we first got married, we did something unusual. They didn't have mission statements back in the day. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. I think it's great, and I'm so happy that you guys did this. But what we did, we knew the divorce rate was pretty high. The divorce rate back in the day was like 50%. In fact, we had a friend, we went to the wedding, and a week later, they got a divorce and an annulment. A week after the wedding, all right? So we said, oh, no. It's way too expensive to have to do that, you know? And we said, we're not going to do that. So we sat down with a piece of paper and we put a line down the center and we made a list. On one side, the left side of the paper was anything that we were willing to change about ourselves if our partner really wanted us to. And on the right side of that page, anything that we were currently doing or whatever that we would not be willing to change if the partner wanted you to do that.
So you're really running this more like a business in a sense. You know, you're making the list. You're making a mission statement. This is like a company you're creating.
It is almost, because if IBM, Xerox, all these big companies, if I'm allowed to mention these names, all these big companies, they stay in business for a long time because they make good decisions. And the better decisions you make your shareholders happy. And every decision I'd like to make, I want her to be happy with it. And if not, then we need to talk and find out where we have common ground and what can we do about it.
Great.
So it sounds like you really care about each other's happiness as a focal point.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that right for you as well?
Absolutely.
So in conclusion, what would you say each of you, like 2 essential takeaways from this conversation should be for our audience?
Paying attention and listening. You really need to do that. And it takes a little practice. You need to practice a little bit.
Okay.
It's easy.
And Mary, what do you think?
Find out what your partner's love language is and let them know what your love language is. Don't
talk
make it
to
a
it.
guessing game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Speak
you.
into it is what you're saying. Speak into the love language.
That's right.
That's great.
So now that we have a little bit, or I think a lot of bit of insight into this, we should pay attention, find out what it takes to get the right partner for you and how to stick with it and stick it out, because the rewards are really infinite. Thank you for staying and watching this episode of Beyond My Crisis so you can get beyond yours.